All right, welcome back to the channel. Somebody's busted who's been saying that Gervonta Davis hasn't been trying to fight him, and that is Shakur Stevenson, as Steven Espinosa gives out new information. Let's talk about that and somebody's people effing up the bag in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. This is the fight week for Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, but I got a little bit of documenting to do. I got to make sure I get this out here because I had done a video in the past that said that Shakur Stevenson had dropped the bag on Gervonta Davis, and that is going to ultimately hit him in his career because that is the one fight that he is capable of winning, that he can have, that the games and mechanisms that they play are going to prevent him from ever getting. So don't expect Shakur to get a fight anything like Canelo Alvarez, Terrence Crawford, any real big type of situation like that, unless he fixes this problem and somehow corrects mistakes made in the past. Now, before I get into the details, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you guys so much for what you do. It really does mean a lot. So, Shakur Stevenson, Steven Espinosa. Steven Espinosa, the former head of Showtime Sports, where the PBC had been putting on fights pretty much since their inception. And he was in an interview on Sway's, I think it's called Sway's World, and Shakur Stevenson was on the show. During this show, Steven Espinosa said that they did reach out to he knows that the PBC reached out to Shakur Stevenson's team and asked them about making a fight between Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson several years ago.
You reached out to Top Rank before for a fight with me and Tank.
For a fight with you and Tank, yeah.
And when did this happen?
I mean, years ago. Okay. Years ago.
Are you sure? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, it was years ago. It didn't go very far at all because
So if Bob Arum was to get into the conversation, he's going to agree with this.
I don't know what he's going to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the answer was no. The answer was not yes. They said that the negotiations did not go far at all because Bob Arum, he said, well, one of the things he said is, that Bob Arum is very specific about who he will work with and who he will not work with.
As a fighter, you can't let your business get in the way.
Sure.
You can't let your guy, your promoter's beefs stop you from getting a fight that you want.
Do you feel like that happened on his? Was it any interjection from his representation?
No, like I got nothing. I've never really dealt with Jay. I know, Bob Arum has very strong feelings about who he'll do business with and who he won't sometimes.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's been a challenge. But I as far as I'm concerned, I've never heard Shakur personally say, I'm not fighting this guy or I don't want to fight that guy. But there have been, people who at stages where influence his business, which might have made it a little bit harder to get that stuff.
Who he will work with and who he will not work with. And Steven Espinosa said, sometimes it's, he said it's not like he had a conversation with Shakur Stevenson, but that and he did not have a conversation with Jay Prince, but people in that scenario were the ones that said no thank you to a fight with Gervonta Davis. Now, in this particular instant, the one that Steven Espinosa is referencing, it's clear that is not Shakur Stevenson's fault if his team just tells him no, or is it? Or is it? Shakur Stevenson, when Shakur Stevenson turned professional, he had an opportunity to sign with the PBC or sign with Top Rank. He decided to sign with Top Rank. If I recall correctly, the reason that that he decided to sign with Top Rank and not with the PBC or other promoters when he was coming out of the Olympics is because Top Rank showed him more respect by putting, I think it was like a poster up or something like that, but created some type of like a college, more like a heavier recruiting process for him. And he felt better about the recruiting process than he felt with that it took place with other people. However, the PBC versus the Top Rank riff, that had been out there for a while. And Gervonta Davis was already pro and already really kind of doing his thing around the time Shakur Stevenson turned pro. Their fights and the money were already over with the PBC at that time. Black fighters were making more money at the PBC at that time, but Shakur decided to side with Top Rank to start off with. Then when Shakur Stevenson later, now this is where I blame Shakur for not going out of his way to trying to make this fight. He could have had a fight with Gervonta Davis because Gervonta Davis' team and him talked directly and said, look, if this Lomachenko fight doesn't come through, we can fight. Well, guess what? The Lomachenko fight didn't come through, and Shakur Stevenson decided to sign with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn, full well, is not going to be working with the PBC. They do it very, very rarely. And on top of it, Shakur, he's not just going to be throwing away Shakur Stevenson and letting Shakur Stevenson be in particularly rough fights. Now, I also have to say, man, that look, this is just a bad look. It's not a good look for Gervonta to be fighting Jake Paul, but I remember explicitly when Gervonta Davis said, no, what I'm doing next is I'm knocking all these guys off. That's what he said in an interview. And then he tried to fight Lomachenko. Lomachenko retired. Clearly had tried to fight Shakur Stevenson, was told no about him. Most of these guys many of these guys that were at 135 have already left the weight division. So look, man, it's just going to be a very, very interesting thing to see how this stuff plays out. I know that Shakur Stevenson said that he is close to getting a fight done with Teofimo Lopez, but is Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson fight anything that is going to come close to replacing a Gervonta Davis, Shakur Stevenson fight for fight fans, for Gervonta or for Shakur Stevenson? I would say absolutely not. No way. Teofimo Lopez is a good name, and I would definitely watch the fight, but it's not something that is going to create generational wealth for, I hate that phrase, but is not going to be able to create massive amounts of wealth for Shakur Stevenson. Nothing like the Gervonta Davis fight would be. But what can you say? Errol Spence' father used a quote one time that I really enjoyed. He said, the higher the monkey climbs up the tree, the more he shows his ass. Right? The bigger you think you are, the more important you think you are, the more you show yourself, the more you smell yourself, the more you think you're the number one cat in the world. Man, Shakur Stevenson has another step to take. And that step is to do what he got to do to get the Gervonta Davis fight, because Shakur Stevenson has the ability to beat Gervonta. He really does. So if you have the ability to do it and the money's there, why wouldn't you do whatever you got to do to get there? Or instead of trying to play games and nickel and dime here and there, when you really have an opportunity to set yourself apart and really get a great fan base if you did fight Gervonta. And honestly, man, it doesn't seem like he's breaking his back to do it. Gervonta now is going to get $100 million, whatever it is, $200 million for Jake Paul, come back into boxing. Probably if he does the Jake Paul fight right, he's going to be a bigger star than when he fought Jake Paul, because there's going to be even more eyes on him in a huge event, which means his next event is probably going to be huge. That next event should be Shakur Stevenson. But got to act right to make it happen. Anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.